Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Ask Alice. Today I have a really fun question from one of my younger readers that their mom passed on to me, and it's a sibling set that have all been reading my book and love it. So the question is, do the different kingdoms in Torian have flags? And if yes, what are they and what do they look like? So these are the crests of the kingdom of Dayton, Warren, and the Betruger. I always say the Betruger, but it's Betruger. And so these are their crests, and the kingdoms do not have unique flags outside of these crests. Now, these particular crests are put on the shirts of the kingdoms, they're worn on the armor, they're on all of the shield, any kind of tapestry or official things from the kingdom have some aspect of these crests on them. So the seals of Warren, for example, would have the head of the sea dragon on it, the head of the lion is often depicted from Dayton, and the boar from Betruger. And so these are the aspects for the symbols of all of the kingdoms. Now, when they have flags, each of the kingdom has two specific colors. You know that Dayton is red and gold, Warren is blue and silver, and the Betruger are yellow and brown. And so because of that, those are the two colors that are used to signify each of these kingdoms. But they also come into play with ranking and in the flags. Each of the kingdoms, there is a color that is only used for nobility or royalty, and there is one that is used by the common people. We'll start with Dayton. Dayton is red and gold. You will notice when you read the stories that whenever Emmerich or Aaron are depicted in royal attire, they always have a gold tunic on, whereas the knights are always dressed in red. That is purposely done. The gold is the royal color. The same thing is done in Warren, where everybody who is royal is wearing silver, and blue is reserved for the knights and the peasant people. But it goes deeper than just that. At some point in book 1, you will note, or possibly even in book 2, I can't remember, you'll note that Jerome, the general of Dayton, wears a dark red tunic. So in the normal coloring of the red for the different layers of shirts, the darker the red, the higher the importance or nobility of the person wearing the shirt. Which is why the Waffners, as the most respected family in the kingdom of Dayton, and being the guardians of the king for generations, the Waffners have been guarding the kings for 500 years in Dayton. They have the darkest red that you can possibly buy. Whereas like a farmer in the field would have the lightest red. And the reason their color is darker is because the higher ranking you are, the more money you have, and therefore you can afford the more expensive dyed fabric to get the tunic made in the darker color than you could if you were just a farmer and didn't have a great deal of money. Same thing is true in Warren. You'll notice that the earls and things like that tend to have a darker blue color to them, whereas normal people and that just have a lighter shade of blue. Aaron is rebellious in the fact that he wears red. He doesn't even go and wear like the dark red that Jerome wears. He wears whatever red he feels like wearing, which is one of the reasons that his father gets so angry at him for running around being dressed like a knight, because he doesn't run around wearing a gold tunic when he dresses as a knight. He runs around wearing red, and not even Waffner red. He wears common red, which when you're trying to disguise yourself as a normal knight is what you want to do. It's the same when he's in Warren. He runs around in blue, varying shades of blue, sometimes light, sometimes medium, but he never wears the dark, dark blue that his cousin would wear or that his uncle would wear. He wears an average shade of blue, which is why his father gets so angry about this. He wants his son to accept his title of royalty and to wear the proper gold that is representative of who he is and where he comes from. But in order to blend into the crowd and be able to be one with his people, essentially, Aaron tosses that rule aside and instead focuses on a red shade instead. It actually comes to play further on in the books as well. You'll notice Aaron always has red. Red is his favorite color. When he buys a dress for Alex, it's red. Everything, very rarely does he willingly choose gold. It's always red. Even though royalty is speaking, he should be wearing gold. And he does that on purpose because he is more down to earth. He wants to hear what people have to say. And because of that, he goes for the more normal color rather than what is the royal color expected of him. The same thing in Warren. Edward will sometimes wear blue, and it's one of the reasons he lets Alex wear blue, because he knows that she wants to hide more, and so he never even offered her silver. He put her in blue, and her ladies' maids put her in blue to begin with, because they knew they wanted to let her hide a little bit and not immediately stand out in something like silver right off the bat. Also in Warren, they're a little bit more relaxed with this rule, and so people Some of the earls and higher nobility, even though they're not technically royal, will also be allowed to wear silver, and that it's not such a big deal. In Warren, they're a little bit more easygoing about the formalities and the hierarchy, and the Returger don't even care. They just let everyone wear what they want. You can wear yellow, brown, green, doesn't matter. But how this relates to the flags is that the flags at the castles have the royal color on them, and the flags carried by lower level people or flown by the normal citizens would be a red base. So if you saw a group of people coming and they had a gold flag, you would know they were royalty, they were well off, they were possibly working for the king, or they were on this journey for the king, so representing the king. And if they had a light red, they were more likely to just be farmers or everyday citizens. And if they were a dark red, they were more likely to be higher in the military or higher in the nobility and the knights and guards and that. So coloring to the different shades of the colors for each of the kingdoms is very important. And so for the flags, it relates the same way that it does to the tunics. So if you have a castle flag being flown in Dayton, it will be gold if it is in the castle. If it's anywhere else in the kingdom, it will be a different shade of red. So I hope that answers your question, guys. If you have more follow-up questions, drop them in the comments and I will be happy to answer them. Thanks for stopping by for Ask Alice, and happy reading!